Hey guys, here we are. Hello, hello. It's Chat with Matt. It is the 29th of January. I had to think about that. It's the 29th of January here in New Zealand. It's 2020. You've got half an hour to ask me anything at all you wish. No one's written in anything prior to going live, so I am ad-libbing until someone writes me something to give me some direction. What's up? Was kind of I'm trying to think where I'm at. as per normal, there's been things happening around here to keep me on my toes and give me opportunity to be distracted from what I'm really settling in to do, which at the moment is produce another mini course, producing a little course at the moment, another course on what I'm always very, very passionate about, which is empowering people. So that's in the pipeline. Hopefully it's going to be produced soonish, and I'll get it out to you guys. But in the meantime, I'm going through that dance. I'll call it a dance where I've got stuff to be doing. Hey, Sister Teresa, I've got stuff to be doing, and yet there's always some resistance to doing it. I was writing last night. I find that I usually get quite a bit done in the latter part of the evening once the house sort of settles down and gets quiet. There's not so much distraction, but that's not so great for my lifestyle. I've always been sort of early to bed, early to rise sort of person, and so, but I do find I get quite creative or allow inspiration to flow through me later at night, which then messes with Matt getting up and doing his meditation. So, but yeah. So the point that I guess I'm making is, it ain't easy. Here comes a courier. It ain't easy, and I think I have to sign for it. Hey Kay, because it's coming from the Apple store, and it's nothing very exciting. It's only an adapter. I'll see if he needs me or not. He's banging on the door. Hang on. Oh, yeah, right. I know exactly what that is.
Thank you.
Trying to pick up my boys on the road. It's a never ending. Look at it. There it is, light on the green. Wasn't what I expected, but it was something that we need. Anyways, the point that I was making is that most of us have intention to move forward in some way. Most of us have an inspiration about what we could be doing, what we'd love to be doing, what would really light us up, and what we could produce, and potentially it could be helpful, but anyway, it's purposeful, even if you don't see the direct correlation with how you're helping people. When you're doing something that feels purposeful to you, that feels like a more expansive expression of yourself, you're helping everyone, because as you step into being your brightest light, as you step into being your authentic self and living a life that expresses your soul's desires, you are inviting others to do the same. You're lifting the vibration of the collective, and you are creating pathways and invitations and examples for how others can choose to step forward and live their greatest life. The quotient of happiness on this planet starts to expand as we start to feel more and more purposeful and less stuck in the matrix or in the limitations of what society is teaching us we must do, should do, have to do to be good, right, proper people. The point is that as you choose to do that, it's not easy, and you must understand that it's not, quote unquote, supposed to be easy, right? Because a lot of people feel the draw to go and do something like that, and then they feel the resistance to doing it, and they think, oh, well, what's wrong? Why aren't I in alignment? They think that it's some sort of alignment problem. It's not. You have got into alignment, but you're still carrying energies from your past, right? Limitations, restrictions, fragments of trauma, belief systems, things you've been indoctrinated, trained with, implanted with, that say you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or doing that's hard. And so that arises to then create a protest or a resistance or a quote-unquote self-sabotage in your field, and you just have to be willing to step through that. You have to be willing to face that discomfort and to make action steps despite it. Many people unfortunately pull back and think, oh, it's not right, it's not flowing easily. They have this idea that if it's in alignment, it should be easy. And in my experience and in the experience of most of my clients, that ain't the case. Yeah, sometimes things come together and things miraculously fall into place, and it is a breath of fresh air, and it is very exciting when that happens. But the majority of the progress that we make is stepping past resistance, not necessarily fighting our way through it, not needing to defeat the resistance. It's not that you need to disprove the resistance or exert yourself against it. You just need to choose despite it, right? To step past it. And the less attention you put on the energies that are resisting, the energies that are protesting, the sooner they dissolve or lose their potency. Much the same, I use this example quite a bit, but when people are protesting on the street about their conditions aren't fair or whatever's going on that they're not happy about, if they're protesting on the street, waving their placards and yelling and shouting and doing all of that stuff, if no one is giving them any attention, if they get no media coverage, if no one stops if they don't have any effect on the world around them, if they're not creating attention, then they'll very soon lose their energy and go home, right? Because protests are there to gain attention. That's how they work. And so when energies arise within you to protest what you have chosen, because for some reason, based on their opinion, the opinion of the energies that are still in you that are protesting, that what you have chosen is inappropriate, if you don't pay attention to that, very soon they will lose their energy and disband or dissolve. Hey, Sister Nishna. Hey, Sister Anna. How are you? Yeah. So if anyone has a question, please feel free to write in. That would be great. Give me something to go on. At the moment, I'm just riffing on my own. And for another reason, which I have no idea about, because it wasn't an issue before I started this live stream, all of a sudden my nose has got itchy. So something's going on. Just something. I'd much rather my palm was itchy or something, indicating that money was coming my way. But anyway, my nose is itchy. It means I've probably got a sneeze coming my way. Yeah, so what's up, you guys? What's up? How can I serve you? It's time to be... I've talked all of January about determination, because that's what it's taking to stay on the path and to keep stepping past this resistance. Determination from a space of dedication rather than from a mental desperation to get it right. And coming into February, which is coming very soon, and I'm to be doing my light language call at the start of the month next weekend, which is for members of the Bright Light Client Attraction. No, it's for members of... I've only got really 2 paid groups and I keep mixing them up. It's for members of the Mantara Transformation and Empowerment Support Community, which is my low investment, high value. It's a high value but low investment rate community to support people in moving through the process of transformation in an empowered way. Anyway, I'm wondering what my topic's going to be for February. I've got a couple of different ideas about, relationship with self, because I think that's very pertinent right now. Service is another option I've got to go with, and how that fits in with everything, right? This idea of selfless service, the idea of, being purposeful on the planet by helping others, and what that really looks like. Because, if you read a lot of the scriptures, which is where I came from, the yoga scriptures, the Karma Yoga scriptures, which was my path, right, of selfless service, it can be a little bit confusing and a little bit disempowering, to be honest. To be very honest, a lot of people get a disempowered take on what service really looks like. And so I was thinking of going there, or actually I was requested to go there, and someone else has asked about impartial, not self-awareness, but something like that. Is it still here? It's still here. No, it's not. I was about to say it's still on my Google search, because I actually had to search what the title means. It's a book that's been written. To be quite honest, I read the title. I read the prelude to the book, and it's kind of like quite a interesting take, which I don't quite align with, so it could be an interesting topic to talk about. It's kind of self-examination, self-awareness, and the idea of what self is, and the idea of whether self is the flesh or whether self is spirit. And what I read was very polar opposite, right? Either you have to believe in self being the flesh or self being a spirit, and if you can't mix the two, right? And I don't know. I haven't read the book, obviously. I just read the snippet that came on the side of the book, and it was like, that's very interesting. I don't think I really align with that. I think we can very, very, very much be aligned with us as spirit and understand that spirit is manifest into the flesh, and by noticing us as the flesh and living through the flesh experience, we in no way diminish our ability of knowing ourselves as spirit. And of course, knowing ourselves as spirit is always an evolution, right? There is no completion to knowing ourself, as there is no real completion to self, because we're an ever expanding, ever evolving thing, energy, and so you can never really know yourself in completion. We just are going on the process of evolution, and the more self-aware we are and the more conscious we are of that process, and the more that we can make empowered choices through this flesh suit to do things that lead us to having experiences that help that process evolve. So Teresa's asked, how do we discern what service to do? You feel it in your heart, basically. Discernment is an interesting term. Many of people sort of get mixed up or get railroaded into analysis coming with discernment, and I don't believe it has to be that way. I think we can have a higher level of discernment by really feeling and honoring what we know, not emotionally just feeling what to do, but really intuiting what we're drawn to do. For me, that level of discernment comes through, deeper meditative experiences or moments of connection that may happen walking in nature or sitting on the beach, or in those moments where I have got out of the thinking mind, the analytical mind, the worrying mind, the distracted mind, and allow myself to really have a deeper sense of knowingness, which is quite hard to describe what that sense of knowingness is, but when you have it, you kind of know it. And it's an evolution as well, and I believe as we start to honor it, it does become a little bit more obvious to us. Hey, Brother Lou. So the point is, there's no correct answer, Teresa. You weren't, I believe, in my belief, you weren't sent here by God, source, universe, or any other higher being to actually do something. Even your higher self hasn't set a riddle for you, hasn't set a mandate for what service you're supposed to do without telling you, right? So, there's this idea that, am I doing the right service? If you're feeling serviceful, then you're doing it, right? If you're feeling purposeful, then you're doing it. You can't mess that up. Of course, you can progress through a process of allowing your service to become more and more in alignment with the truth of who you are. Now, the truth of who you are is a loaded term, obviously, because as I just described, it's an evolution. You yourself, you the higher being, is evolving all the time as well. But basically, as you find more and more alignment with your heart or your light, or as you become less influenced by the shoulds that you've been programmed with, you will find that your service becomes even more joyful, right? And so again, there's no end to what joyful is. Love my energy, healing, and fashion. Well done, Brother Lewis. Loving that you are loving your both combination, right? Energy, healing, and working in fashion. And there's absolutely no reason at all why they can't be completely complementary, right? Completely complementary. No reason at all. So it's great that I believe it's great that we start to erode or dissolve the distinction or the what's it, separation between material world and spiritual worlds, right? Because it's not helping when we're pitting the two against each other. And I believe it's part of the conspiracy, which is, the age-old conspiracy of divide and conquer, right? The more division we put into society, the more division that the ruling hierarchy put into society, the more easy it is to control the masses, right? To have their way with society. So, man versus woman, black versus white, right? All of it has been going on. And material versus spiritual is a similar division that really doesn't help us, because the material is just a manifestation of the spiritual. It is all just energy. There is no real separation. While you could draw a line in the sand and say past a certain level of density it's material, and beyond, and on the other side of that line it's spiritual, that line is very, very arbitrary and very, very up to whatever you perceive to be where the line should be. So the point is, couldn't see myself doing anything else. Awesome, Lewis. So the point is to get out of rights and wrongs, that division, that big division, that big duality right there, where we judge things as being either right or wrong. So whether I'm doing the right service or the wrong service, whether I'm, being purposeful or not based on whatever. I really don't understand where all of this congestion's coming from, but it must be good. It must be good. So yeah, Sister Teresa, discerning what service to do is in the moment and what's right in front of you. The best service to be doing is the service that's available for you to do right now, always, rather than putting yourself into the future thinking, I'd rather be doing this type of service. If there's serviceful things you can do that feel purposeful right in front of you right now, then that is the best thing to be doing. And holding an intention that it can always evolve from there, that you're not locked into doing that because that's what you're doing right now. Understand that what you do right now doesn't necessarily mean to be what you're doing into the future. And yes, it is okay to say no to doing something that is serviceful right now if you know that it's not really the highest service or the most beneficial path you can take. Because, I could be out right now raking leaves for my neighbour, for example, because that's serviceful. But I've chosen to be here speaking to you guys because I believe that that's more serviceful, right? So there's discernment to occur, and really we just feel into what feels most serviceful to be doing. And there's choice always. And first in, first served is not necessarily the best, right? Whatever takes your attention first is not necessarily the best. Whatever seems easiest is not necessarily the best, because for me, it'd be much easier to be raking leaves, right? I think, well, I'm being serviceable because they really need their leaves raked. But that's not the highest expression of me. Doing what I'm doing right now probably isn't the highest expression of me either, but it's definitely a higher expression than raking leaves, in my opinion, right now. Maybe not. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe I could be raking the leaves and there could be... I don't know. But I feel to be doing this, right? If it's heavy, I need to move on. Teresa, true, but that, I know, I use that as well, feels heavy, but what I've found is quite often our emotional self gets in the way of that. And things feel heavy to me because I'm resistant to doing them, which is not necessarily the idea that it's not the best thing to be doing, right? And sometimes, quite often, in fact, I feel that when things feel heavy, it's actually an opportunity for me to step through the burden that I'm carrying around doing that, right? So that I can start to release that heaviness. Not all, and these lines are fine. These lines are fine, and it does take a greater degree of discernment, right? Understanding, deeper, intuitive knowing what it is that's making this feel heavy. Because I could basically read into your situation, and I think, you're talking about serving in the hospital, and that heaviness is something that you don't necessarily need to be fighting through, right? I think in this case, you do need to move on. But I'm also pointing out what I also know for yourself, for others, and for myself, that the feeling of, we have to just be careful of where the feeling of heaviness is coming from, whether it is actually a sign that what we're doing is not our greatest service, or whether it is just our emotional or residue resistance to doing what we dream of doing, but we have beliefs that it's not appropriate for us to do, or that it's too hard for us to do, or I'm not worthy to do that, or I'm not capable of doing that. The heaviness might be the fear of failing if I try and do this, or the heaviness might be the fear of succeeding if I do this and I don't know what that would mean for my life. There is all sorts of ways that heaviness or resistance or burden or suppression comes our way to protest or to limit us taking an action that would actually be very beneficial for us. So it's not cut and dry. And I know a lot of people do this heavy and light thing, but I don't believe it always leads to, just like muscle testing doesn't always lead you to the highest path, right? Because muscle testing as well is limited by the body's intelligence. And while the body has a certain intelligence, and it's a very valid intelligence, it's not the highest intelligence. It's not your spiritual intelligence. It's not your higher self. I don't believe muscle testing generally is spirit doing it for you. It's your body doing it, which is much different. While it's a step away from your egoic mind, it's not the highest guidance always. It might be the highest guidance for certain topics, but not for all topics. Yes, I think it's resistance to the future because it is a feeling of being stuck now. Yeah, the feeling of stuck. Isn't that a bugger of a feeling? It's a lie, right? Because we're never stuck. No one is stuck on this planet. There is not one being who is stuck. And yet, if I had $1 for every time someone said I feel stuck or I am stuck, I'd be more wealthy than I am now. Not much wealthier, but it's all relative, isn't it? Maybe if I had $10 for every time someone had said that, it would be a much more meaningful figure. But anyway, the point is, my friends, people use this stuck feeling, and I know I get feeling of stuck as well myself. But the truth is, it's a lie, and it's this mental thing being very immature, really. It feels resistance and then goes, oh, I'm stuck. It's less like, no, you're not. You're just not trying hard enough, right? You're just not trying hard enough. And, I talk a lot about trying hard and not trying too hard and not going into it with this mental try hard attitude. But we do, coming back to determination and dedication to ourselves. When we say we're stuck, it's like, how much dedication do I have to actually moving forward if I think that I'm stuck? Now, I'll reread it because you say it is a feeling of being stuck right now, and I don't believe that you think you are stuck, but you are feeling this vibration arise in you that is basically a dense resistance, right, to moving forward, or to feeling that you're capable of moving forward, or, this feeling that it's hard. Oh, it's hard to move forward. And somehow, we've, back in some conspiracy, we have all been told that if it's right and meant to be, it should be easy. And I started, at the start of this live stream, whether you caught it or not, but that's basically what I started with. It's a lie. It's a lie. I have not had many instances. I've had some, of course, where it's happened easily and it was meant to be, and it just unfolded. But a lot of the time, the things that have brought me the most joy, the things that have allowed me to step into the biggest version of myself at the time, right, which is an evolution, but the thing that's brought me into an expansive expression of myself took a frig load of determination to get there. I had to step through resistance. I had to step through failures, right, little failures on the way where things didn't work out. I could have taken it as a sign and gone, oh, it's not meant to be, and gone and done something quote unquote easy, right? Like rake leaves for my neighbor. Oh, I'm just supposed to rake leaves because every time I try and shine light out into various ways, technology doesn't work for me. So therefore it's a sign that I should, my service is just to rake leaves. I could be playing that game. I could be playing a very small game and just telling myself that I'm, purposeful and serviceful just in doing menial tasks for other people. And there's nothing wrong with that if it was the truth. But it's not. It's not. I would very, very soon get disillusioned with just being of that level of service for people, just helping people out who need some physical help with doing, yard jobs and stuff like that, right? I'm still not saying that's a bad thing to do, but I believe I have something else to give. And it's not necessarily higher on any external measuring system, right? It's not that my service is better than someone who is raking leaves. I don't know where the raking leaves came from, but anyway, it doesn't matter because there's no leaves to rake here. We're in the middle of summer. I don't know where all this mucus is coming from either, which is rather interesting. But anyway, the point is there's no external measure of service based on, well, what I'm doing now is much more important than raking leaves. It's what lights me up, right? It's I'm measuring this thing based on my higher self's heartfelt desires that are flowing through. And even though those heartfelt desires are uncomfortable to step forward into, the joy that comes from doing it far outweighs the discomfort of having to step through the resistance that's trying to hold me back from doing it, right? You know very well, Brother Lou, how many hoops you have had to step through lately over the last 5 years at least that I've known you in stepping forward and allowing yourself to evolve through this process, right? It has not been easy. That's right. Failures in your case, not working with the right people who value your service. So as you keep choosing to step forward into that experience of having your services valued, which is basically a process of you releasing a whole heap of indoctrination that happened in your field in deep past that has you feeling not good enough and less than about yourself, which is not an egoic belief, but actually a deep-seated, implanted, energetic limitation, right? As you are stepping through the process of releasing that, you're having all of these failure experiences where you choose to step forward into it, but you get a reflection of what you are releasing as the outcome. Now, you could give up and go, well, I'm not supposed to be valued doing my services, therefore I'll give up, right? But you're not. You've got the grit and the determination and the dedication to understand that even though this process that you're going through is uncomfortable, especially for the ego that hates the feeling of failing, but it is actually the process of you evolving. And you are going to come to a stage, and you're already seeing it now, where you are being more and more valued, and yet you're still not there as much as you would like, quote unquote. I'm the same, right? I'm basically on a similar pathway of allowing myself to step forward into bigger and bigger versions of service, and yet still I'm not attracting enough of the right clients to really allow myself to feel comfortable in my income streams. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a process. It's a process. Yeah, awesome, Teresa. Enjoy your work service. And it's awesome that you get to have a day job that is also serviceful. Sister Emily Rose, welcome to the fore. I've just about done my half an hour. That is the truth. Been talking about service, been talking about purpose, been talking about the process. Can't think what else I've been talking about, but I've been talking a lot. A lot of stuff's come out of my mouth just for a change today. As I said, it started right at the beginning. I am in the process of creating something new, a new package, a little mini package. It's not going to be massive, but it's leading me on through the process yet again of my resistance to creating, my resistance to putting it out there. Sending you a hug, Sister Emily. The process of being bullied is definitely a very difficult experience to be having, and yet I believe a very beneficial one, because it is giving you the opportunity to really hold your boundaries, and that requires. Yeah, I know. Thank you. I've got my Q&A call coming up, and hopefully I can talk to you then. p.m., that would be great, because in half an hour we're going to jump on for the Bright Light Client Attraction Process Q&A. But it's a great point. Let me just get rid of it. I've got all sorts of shit on my screen now. But the point is, being bullied does give us an opportunity. I can't believe all this mucus has just decided to arrive on the seed almost immediately when I hit go live on this thing. Yes, so the process of maintaining your boundaries in the experience of being bullied is an interesting dance. Always what we need to look for is letting go of the egoic desire to be right and take the higher ground where we're choosing our happiness. Now, that doesn't mean getting used as a doormat, certainly not, but it does mean aligning with the energetic outcome that you are most looking to achieve and working toward that, as opposed to trying to prove him wrong and you right? And also, the thing with bullying is if you go into defensive mode, you are basically attracting more attack. So when you start defending yourself, the bully gets bigger, right, and wants to beat you down. Working with bullies, it's much more effective to sidestep, to deflect, to not actually answer back their bullying, to let it slip by you, to allow yourself to be transparent almost, or elusive in your energetic field, that you don't allow their bullying attacks to really land on you. You don't allow it to be meaningful to you. You see it for what it is. Their bullying is a reflection of their own insecurity. That's why they're doing that behavior, because they're trying to assert themselves because they don't feel confident in themselves, right? That's why bullies do what they do. So your job is to not play the game, basically, and at the same time advocate strongly for the outcome that you desire and that you know is going to be of the highest service for yourself, for Leo, and for Pat in the end, right? Because allowing him to reinforce that bullying works is not in his highest and best good, right? For no one. So that's probably enough for right now without getting right into it, right? But for everyone, that's kind of a bit of insight in working with bullies and this whole situation. And understand that bullying is happening in various levels in most relationships, right? It's just the way it is. The egos have these old, immature ways of dealing with things. Anyway, looking forward to creating a product where fashion can be based on colours of the natal chart, so it can also be infused. Oh, we go, got it. Can also be infused with Reiki energies along with unconditional love and passion for the product, as it would be customized to the client. That sounds awesome, Brother Lewis. I would love you to put together a concept around that and get a website built and do it, right? I think there's definitely a market for that. I think as people become more and more aware, of how their clothing and their color choices affect them energetically, I think that's a market that will blossom. So I would be, I think it's awesome. I think it's an awesome idea. So go for it. Go for it. I know it's a big endeavor and you might need a partner. But where there's a dream, there's a way. You have the website already. Awesome. Well, when it's ready to go, flick me the link so I can have a look at it and promote it, right? Because I think that's an awesome idea. I believe, hopefully, I do believe our society is running out of this idea of yearly fashion and throwaway clothing, throwaway produce in general, right? This consumerism idea where we're just producing so much stuff. of such a low quality so that it can be, thrown away so that people can buy again. And I know with certain things like, computers at the moment and, phones and the speed at which technology is expanding makes it, hard to have the concept of making something that lasts 20 years because it's going to be obsolete in 5 years and no one's really going to want to use it. I get that. But so many other things that we use, especially clothing, is not like that. And it is basically a consumerism mentality that's driving this throwaway society. And we use so much resource on clothing as a society. It's ridiculous. And most of it's going to landfill, right? Most of it's going to landfill. Very little of it gets, adequately recycled in any real way. Because they're making it so cheaply that basically, even if you aren't fashion conscious, your clothing falls apart a lot more quickly than it might. Anyway, that's probably it. We've definitely done chat with Matt for today. Holding space for you, Brother Lou, holding space for you, Sister Em and Sister Teresa, and everyone else who has joined us, whether they spoke or not, reached out. Awesome. That's an awesome service as well, Brother Lou. Remaking key items and adding patches with colours, right? Repairing clothing again. We should be doing that. Repairing clothing, repairing shoes, repairing cars. At the moment, if something breaks on a car, they just replace it and throw it out. It's made to break. That's the point. Again, they're made to have a limited lifetime if Anyway, don't get me started. But I love that more and more people are choosing to start to go back to a sense of producing quality and producing something that is, timeless and valuable over the longer period of time. That doesn't have a limited length of, value based on fashion or anything like that. Or planned redundancy, which is, a absolutely stupid idea. Anywho, my friends, like washing machines. Who the frig, how much technology is going to change with washing machines? None, but they still make them so they break down. Refrigerators, another point, we could all be using the style of refrigerator that was around 20 years ago. And if you've got a refrigerator that was 30 years ago, it's probably still going, potentially. But if you bought a refrigerator 10 years ago, I can guarantee that it's broken by now, right? And you've had to replace it. So that's the point. And there's absolutely no need. I can understand with things like phones, that technology is improving so much quickly. And so, there is a planned redundancy there because people are going to want to upgrade. But a huge amount of stuff that we do have in our life is not in that category. And so does not need to be, on this treadmill of just getting thrown out so that they can sell you a new one. Anywho, my friends, that is changing and I'm here to support it changing. And I love the idea, Brother Lewis, that you are, bringing this idea of, quality made, tailored clothes with, energetic support and color support to suit the individual. I think that is a fantastic idea and I'd love to see that blossom. Anyway, my friends, I'm going to hop off this because, as I said, I've got a Q&A call coming up with my group very shortly. Bye for now. Bye-bye.